Big shifts are happening in Washington and in Chicago, and currently, one showdown is front and center. Welcome to U.S. Daily News Brief. I'm Jordan, joined as always by Emery. Let's dive in. Chicago is once again at the center of a national fight, this time over President Trump's push to deploy federal troops into the city. The announcement followed a violent Labor Day weekend where 8 people lost their lives and more than 50 were injured in shootings across several neighborhoods. The White House framed this as proof that Chicago is in a state of emergency that demands federal intervention. Officials close to Trump say the administration views Chicago not only as a city struggling with violence, but also as a symbol, proof, in their words, that Democratic leadership has failed. It's part of a broader political strategy that could reshape the way the federal government interacts with major urban centers. Emery, what's your take on how city leaders are responding?
Well, Jordan, state and city leaders are pushing back hard. Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker and Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson have both said they will not cooperate with the federal plan, calling it unconstitutional and politically motivated. Their argument is simple. Public safety is primarily a local and state responsibility, not something the president can seize without consent. Johnson went further, warning that deploying troops would escalate tensions in neighborhoods already struggling with mistrust of law enforcement. Pritzker echoed that, saying Trump's proposal is less about keeping people safe and more about scoring political points ahead of the election. Together, their resistance sets up a constitutional clash that could drag Chicago into the center of a legal and political storm. But Jordan, it's not just politicians weighing in, right?
Exactly. It's not only political leaders speaking up. Veterans groups, civil rights organizations, and even current members of the Illinois National Guard are weighing in. Many argue that using military personnel against American citizens undermines the very oath they swore to uphold. The Guard's role has always been to protect in times of natural disaster or external threat, not to patrol neighborhoods in their own state against their fellow citizens. Critics say such a move would blur the line between military and civilian authority in ways that could erode trust for generations. And for communities already skeptical of government power, the arrival of federal troops could feel less like protection and more like occupation. Emery, how are legal experts framing this?
Legally, this fight will hinge on whether Trump can invoke the Insurrection Act of 1807, which does allow a president to send in federal troops without a state's approval under very limited circumstances. That law has been used in extreme cases, like enforcing civil rights in the 1960s, but never as a routine tool for controlling urban violence. Legal scholars are divided. Some argue the administration could claim Chicago's violence qualifies as an obstruction of law that local officials are failing to control. Others warn that stretching the law that far could be a dangerous precedent, essentially giving any president the power to override states whenever they see fit. Lawsuits are already being drafted by advocacy groups and legal watchdogs, promising that if Trump follows through, the issue will be challenged in federal court immediately. Jordan, this really raises questions beyond Chicago, doesn't it?
It does. Because here's why this isn't just about Chicago. If the federal government succeeds in forcing troops into the city against the wishes of local leaders, it could fundamentally alter the balance of power between Washington and the states. Governors across the country, Republican and Democrat alike, are watching closely. Because if one city can be targeted today, another could be tomorrow. It raises the question, where does local control end and federal authority begin? This battle could ripple far beyond Chicago's borders. Emery, that makes this more than just a city versus feds fight. It's a test of federalism itself.
Exactly right. Chicago becomes the test case for a much larger debate about democracy, federalism, and executive power. Do states retain control over their own streets, or can Washington override them in the name of security? The stakes couldn't be higher because the outcome here could shape not only how cities handle violence, but also how future presidents approach their authority. For now, Chicago is bracing for a confrontation that may be legal, political, and deeply personal for the communities caught in the middle.
And that's where we'll leave it. Emery, always sharp breaking this down with you.
Same here, Jordan. For our viewers, what do you think? Should the Fed step in, or is this Chicago's fight to handle? Drop your take in the comments.
That's today's U.S. Daily News Brief. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. We'll see you tomorrow with the stories that matter.